The Prescott family Christmas dinner was always a showcase of wealth and status, but this year felt different. Maybe it was because it was our first Christmas without Grandma Rose, or maybe it was because my siblings had reached new heights of condescension. Either way, I sat at the far end of the mahogany dining table in our family's Boston mansion, feeling more out of place than ever. I'm Charlotte Prescott, though my family barely acknowledges the last name I share with them. At 29, I chose to become a social worker instead of joining the family's luxury hotel business, Prescott Hospitality Group. To them, this was worse than betrayal. It was an embarrassment. Charlotte, darling, my mother's voice dripped with fake sweetness as she passed the carved turkey. How is your little job going? Still helping the unfortunate? My sister Victoria, 32, snickered behind her wine glass. She was the CFO of Prescott Hospitality Group, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my yearly salary. My work is fulfilling, Mom, I replied quietly. We just helped 20 families find permanent housing last month. How charitable, my brother James, 34, current CEO, said mockingly. Almost as charitable as this. He slid a small envelope across the table. I opened it, already knowing what to expect. A $5 Starbucks gift card. The same gift they'd given me last year and the year before. That should cover your coffee for a day. Victoria laughed. Though I suppose you're used to break room instant coffee now. My mother sighed dramatically. If only you'd taken the position we offered you in the company, you could have had everything they have. Everything they have. Like the matching Bentleys Victoria and James drove or their penthouse apartments in the city. Like the respect and love my parents withheld from me because I chose to help people instead of profits. I'm happy with my choices, I said, but my voice wavered slightly. Are you? James leaned forward. Look at you, Charlotte. Off the rack clothes, that ancient Toyota in the driveway, living in that tiny apartment in the developing part of town. Is that really what Grandma Rose would have wanted for you? Grandma Rose, my throat tightened at her name. She'd been different from the rest of them. She understood my desire to help others, to make a real difference. Before she died 3 months ago, she'd held my hand in a hospital and whispered, "Stay true to yourself, my little dove. The world needs more hearts like yours." The doorbell rang, interrupting my memories. Our butler, Harrison, appeared in the dining room doorway looking somewhat flustered. Pardon the interruption, but Mr. Goldman is here. Goldman. My mother frowned. Charles Goldman. Grandma's lawyer. What could he want on Christmas Day? He says it's urgent, madam. Regarding Madame Rose's will. The atmosphere in the room shifted. We'd all received our inheritances from Grandma's will last month, modest trust funds for the grandchildren, some jewelry for my mother, and most importantly, her controlling shares in Prescott Hospitality Group had gone to James and Victoria. Or so we thought. Charles Goldman walked in, his usual polished appearance somewhat dampened by the snow outside. He carried a large briefcase and wore an expression I couldn't quite read. My apologies for interrupting your Christmas dinner, he said formally. But this couldn't wait. There's been a development regarding Madame Rose's will. Victoria set down her wine glass sharply. What development? Everything was settled weeks ago. Not quite everything. Goldman opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick envelope. This morning, as per Madame Rose's explicit instructions, I opened a sealed document that was to be revealed exactly 3 months after her death. James stood up, his CEO persona taking over. What kind of document? A transfer of ownership, Goldman said, his eyes finding mine across the table. Of all her shares in Prescott Hospitality Group. We know this already, my mother interrupted. The shares were split between James and Victoria. No, Goldman's voice was firm. Those were decoy documents. The real transfer, executed 6 months before her death and legally binding, places all of Madame Rose's shares, 82% of the company, in the hands of her granddaughter, Charlotte. The silence that followed was deafening. I sat there stunned as Goldman walked over and placed the envelope in front of me. That's impossible, Victoria whispered, her face pale. Impossible. James slammed his hand on the table, making the crystal glasses rattle. She's a social worker. She knows nothing about running a hotel empire. Goldman pulled out more documents. Madame Rose was quite clear. The shares, valued at approximately $225 million, are now legally owned by Charlotte. Additionally, she left this letter explaining her decision. My hands trembled as I opened the letter, recognizing Grandma's elegant handwriting. My dearest Charlotte, if you're reading this, 3 months have passed since my departure, and your family has likely shown their true colors. The $5 gift card tradition was particularly cruel, wasn't it? I've watched for years as they belittled your choices, mocked your compassion, and tried to force you into their mold. But I've also watched you stay true to yourself, using your skills and heart to help others instead of chasing wealth and status. That's why I'm leaving you everything, not just the shares, but the responsibility that comes with them. You understand what I've always known, that business should serve humanity, not the other way around. Your siblings and parents will be angry. They'll try to fight this, but I've made sure everything is legally ironclad. Goldman has all the necessary documentation. Use this power wisely, my little dove. Show them that compassion and business success aren't mutually exclusive. Show them what the Prescott name should really stand for. All my love, Grandma Rose. I looked up from the letter to find my family in various states of shock and rage. Victoria was frantically texting, probably calling her lawyers. James's face had turned an alarming shade of red. My mother had collapsed into her chair, fanning herself dramatically. This will never stand, James growled. We'll contest it. You can try, Goldman said calmly, but Madame Rose was very thorough. The transfer is completely legal and binding. As of now, Miss Charlotte is the majority shareholder of Prescott Hospitality Group. Victoria launched herself from her chair. You can't run this company. You'll destroy everything we've built. Everything you've built? I found my voice, strength flowing from Grandma's words. You mean the workers you underpay? The communities you gentrify with your luxury developments? The family legacy you've turned into a monument to greed? I stood up, clutching Grandma's letter. Maybe it's time for a change. Change? James laughed bitterly. You'll bankrupt us within a month. No, I said quietly. I'll bring us back to what Grandma always wanted. A company that makes a difference in the world while making a profit. It's possible to do both. You're living in a fantasy world, Victoria spat. This is business, not your little social work projects. I picked up the $5 gift card they'd given me and handed it back to her. Keep it. You might need it more than I do now. Goldman cleared his throat. There will be an emergency board meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Charla, as majority shareholder, you'll need to be there. My mother finally found her voice. Charlotte, darling, let's be reasonable. Perhaps we can come to some arrangement. Like the arrangement where you ignored me for choosing to help others? Or the one where you tried to shame me into joining the company? I shook my head. Those days are over. I walked to the dining room door, then turned back to face my family. Grandma Rose taught me that true wealth isn't in our bank accounts, it's in what we do for others. Tomorrow, Prescott Hospitality Group starts a new chapter. As I left the mansion, snow falling softly around me, I could hear the chaos erupting behind me. But for the first time in years, I felt completely at peace. Grandma had given me more than shares in a company. She'd given me the power to prove that compassion and success could go hand in hand. My ancient Toyota started on the first try, as if approving of this turn of events. As I drove away from the family mansion, I smiled, thinking about tomorrow's board meeting. My family had always underestimated me, treated me as less than them because I chose a different path. Now it was time to show them exactly what a social worker could do with a $225 million hotel empire. The next morning, I'd arrived at Prescott Tower 15 minutes early for the board meeting. Instead of my usual thrift store finds, I wore a sleek pantsuit that I'd kept from my brief stint in corporate America before choosing social work. The security guard did a double take when I showed my ID. Miss Prescott, we weren't expecting you. I imagined not. I smiled, taking the executive elevator my siblings had always told me was off limits. Goldman was waiting in the boardroom, along with several shell-shocked board members who'd clearly been briefed on the situation. My family hadn't arrived yet. Charlotte, Goldman pulled me aside. Are you ready for this? They'll try to intimidate you. They've been trying to intimidate me my whole life, I replied. How did that work out for them? Right on cue, James and Victoria burst in, followed by a team of lawyers. My mother slipped in behind them, looking like she hadn't slept. Before we begin, James announced, our lawyers have some concerns about the legitimacy of this transfer. Your concerns have been noted and dismissed, Goldman replied smoothly, distributing documents. These papers confirmed that every aspect of Madame Rose's share transfer was legal and binding. Charlotte is now the majority shareholder. Victoria slumped in her chair while James paced the room like a caged lion. Fine, he spat. What's your play here, Charlotte? Money? Is that what you want? Name your price. I opened my laptop, pulling up the presentation I'd stayed up all night preparing. Actually, I'd like to discuss my vision for the company's future. Your vision? Victoria laughed incredulously. You mean turning our luxury hotels into homeless shelters? No, I said, connecting my laptop to the projector. I mean turning Prescott Hospitality Group into a leader in sustainable, socially responsible luxury hospitality. The board members leaned forward as I began my presentation. Charts and graphs appeared on the screen, research I'd been quietly conducting for years, watching our family business from the outside. Our current model focuses solely on luxury properties in affluent areas, I explained. But we're missing massive opportunities in emerging markets. I propose a dual approach, maintaining our luxury brand while launching a new mid-range brand focused on sustainable tourism and community integration. This is absurd, James interrupted. Our brand is luxury. Period. Our brand is stagnant, I corrected him. Our market share has dropped 15% in the past 3 years, while competitors with sustainable initiatives have grown. Even our luxury clients are demanding more social responsibility. I clicked to the next slide, showing proposals for community partnerships and employee welfare programs. By investing in the communities where we operate, we create goodwill, develop new markets, and build customer loyalty. One of the board members, Mrs. Chen, spoke up. The numbers, they make sense. But can you really manage this? Better than they can, I replied calmly. I've spent years working with communities, understanding their needs, building relationships. That's what social work taught me, and it's what this company needs. Victoria stood up abruptly. This is a waste of time. We'll take this to court. Sit down, Victoria, a quiet voice commanded. We all turned to see our mother, speaking for the first time. Charlotte, show us the rest. For the next hour, I outlined my complete vision. Sustainable practices that would actually save money. Employee education programs that would reduce turnover. Community initiatives that would open new markets. Everything backed by solid research and financial projections. When I finished, the boardroom was silent. Well, Mrs. Chen said finally, I believe we need to vote on the new direction of Prescott Hospitality Group. The vote was close, but with my controlling shares, the outcome was inevitable. My vision for the company would move forward. This isn't over, James warned as he stormed out. No, I agreed. It's just beginning. As the board members filed out, my mother remained behind. She looked older somehow, more vulnerable. Your grandmother, she said softly, she always said you were special. Different. I thought she meant weak, but maybe she saw something the rest of us missed. I gathered my papers, thinking of all the times I'd wanted her approval, her understanding. It's not too late to see it now, Mom. She nodded slowly, then left me alone in the boardroom. My boardroom now. I walked to the window, looking out over Boston. Somewhere down there, my clients at the Social Services Center were going about their lives, struggling, surviving, hoping for better. Now I had the power to actually make that happen, on a scale I'd never imagined. My phone buzzed with a text from Goldman. Grandma Rose would be proud. I smiled, touching the letter she'd left me, now tucked safely in my jacket pocket. The $5 gift card days were over. It was time to show my family what real value looked like. 3 months into my leadership of Prescott Hospitality Group, the changes were already making waves in the industry. Forbes had run a feature titled The Social Worker CEO, How Charlotte Prescott is Revolutionizing Luxury Hospitality. The stock price, despite James's dire predictions, had risen 12%. I was reviewing plans for our first community-integrated resort when Victoria appeared in my office doorway. She looked different, less polished, more human somehow. Your secretary said I could come in, she said hesitantly. Sarah, I corrected her. Her name is Sarah, and she's our director of executive operations now. Turns out she has an MBA she couldn't use because nobody in the old regime would promote a woman from an administrative role. Victoria flinched slightly. That might have been my policy. I know, I gestured to a chair. What brings you here? She sat down, fidgeting with her designer watch. The Singapore project. The sustainable luxury resort you're planning. I've been reviewing the numbers, and they're good, she admitted. Really good. Your idea to partner with local artisans and environmental groups is generating more pre-bookings than any launch in our history. I leaned back in my chair, Grandma Rose's old chair, which I brought up from storage. Is that all you came to say? No, Victoria took a deep breath. I want to help. If you'll let me. I studied my sister, remembering all the Christmas dinners, all the mockery, all the $5 gift cards. But I also remembered when we were young, before money and status became everything, how she used to let me play in her room, braid my hair, tell me stories. Why should I trust you? Because you're right, she whispered, and I saw tears in her eyes. About everything. About what this company could be. About what we've become as a family. James is still fighting it, but I see it now. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. The screen showed a message that made me smile. Come with me, I told Victoria. There's something you should see. We took my Toyota, I'd refused to upgrade despite my new wealth, to the South End, where our first community project was underway. The old Bradford Hotel, a rundown property the company had written off, was being transformed. What is this? Victoria asked as we walked through the construction. Phase 1, I explained. The ground floor is becoming a training center for hospitality careers. The upper floors will be renovated into a boutique hotel staffed by program graduates. The profit margins actually project higher than our luxury properties because of tax incentives and community support. A group of trainees was attending a workshop in the makeshift classroom. I recognized many of them from my social work days, people who just needed a chance. Ms. Prescott, Maria, a former client, now a trainee manager, rushed over. The local artisan cooperative loved our proposal. They want to supply all the room decorations and lobby art. Victoria watched this exchange, something shifting in her expression. This isn't just charity, is it? She asked as we left. This is actual business strategy. Finally figured that out, did you? I smiled. Doing good and doing well aren't mutually exclusive. Grandma Rose taught me that. Back at Prescott Tower, I showed Victoria the full scope of my plans. The sustainable resorts, the community integration programs, the employee development initiatives, all designed to increase profitability while making a real difference. I need someone to oversee the financial structure of these projects, I said carefully. Someone who understands both numbers and now hopefully purpose. Victoria's eyes widened. You trust me with that? After everything? Prove me right, I challenged her. She nodded, tears falling freely now. I will. I promise. As if on cue, James burst into the office, waving a newspaper. Have you seen this? Prescott Hospitality Group named Most Innovative Hotel Chain. They're calling you a visionary. He stopped short, seeing Victoria's tear-stained face and our clasped hands. James, I said calmly, would you like to see what your sister and I are working on? He faltered, his anger deflating slightly. What are you working on? I pulled up the Singapore plans, the Bradford project, the community initiatives. James watched, his CEO brain clearly processing the numbers, the potential, the reality of what I created. This is, he struggled for words. The future, Victoria finished for him. The real future of our family's legacy. James sank into a chair, looking lost. I've been fighting so hard against this, I didn't even look at what you were actually doing. It's not too late to be part of it, I offered. We need someone to handle international development, someone who knows the industry inside out. He looked up, hope flickering across his face. You let me. Family, I said simply. That's what Grandma Rose wanted, not just success, but success with purpose. Together. Later that evening, as my siblings pored over project plans, Mom appeared with takeout dinner, something she probably never ordered herself before. Your grandmother, she said, watching James and Victoria work together like they hadn't in years. She knew exactly what she was doing, didn't she? I touched the letter in my desk drawer. She knew what this family needed, what this company needed. Sometimes it takes a social worker to rebuild a business empire. And sometimes, Mom smiled, really smiled for the first time in months. It takes a $5 gift card to reveal $1 million truth. The truth was, Grandma Rose hadn't just left me a company. She'd given me the chance to heal our family, to prove that wealth without purpose is poverty, and that true success comes from lifting others as you rise. 1 year later, I stood in the grand ballroom of the newly renovated Bradford Hotel for its official opening. The space glittered with local art, sustainable decor, and most importantly, the proud faces of our graduate trainees in their staff uniforms. The event was making headlines: Prescott Hospitality Group's revolutionary social enterprise model. But what made me proudest wasn't the press coverage or the profit projections. It was seeing my family working together with genuine purpose. Victoria was explaining our financial model to interested investors, emphasizing how community integration had actually increased our profit margins by 25%. James was giving tours, proudly showing off the training facilities and sustainable design features he'd helped implement. Quite a change from last Christmas, Mom said, appearing beside me with a glass of champagne. Remember the $5 gift card? I smiled, touching the frame hanging near the hotel's entrance. That same gift card, mounted alongside Grandma Rose's letter, serving as a reminder of how far we'd come. Miss Prescott, Maria, now the Bradford's assistant manager, approached with tears in her eyes. My daughter just got accepted to college. The scholarship program you started, I never thought we'd be able to afford it. That scholarship program had been Victoria's idea, surprisingly. Education changed our family's fortune, she'd said. Let's pass that forward. James joined us, looking unusually emotional. The Singapore property just got certified as the country's most sustainable luxury resort, and the waiting list for our training program there is already 6 months long. Speaking of waiting lists, Victoria added, the Bradford's bookings are solid for the next year. Turns out conscious luxury is very marketable. I watched as our trainees served guests with confidence and pride. Many of them I'd known from my social work days, people who just needed an opportunity to shine. Now they weren't just getting jobs, they were building careers. Boldman arrived late, carrying a package. This was in Madame Rose's safety deposit box, he explained, to be opened 1 year after the transfer. With my family gathered around, I opened it to find a single photograph. Young Grandma Rose standing in front of her first small motel, back when Prescott Hospitality was just beginning. On the back, she'd written, "Success isn't measured by what you gain, but by what you give." Charlotte understood this first. Now, I hope you all do. Love, Rose. She'd be proud, Mom whispered, squeezing my hand. Of all of us. Looking around the ballroom, I saw her vision realized. A luxury hotel that created opportunities. A family business that valued both profit and purpose. A broken family made whole again. The $5 gift card that had once symbolized their disdain now represented our transformation. Sometimes the smallest slight can lead to the biggest change. Time for your speech, Victoria nudged me toward the podium. Standing before the crowd, I saw not just wealthy investors and press, but our trainees, their families, our employees, and my own family, all part of something bigger than ourselves. A year ago, I was a social worker who believed business could be more than just profit. Today, we're proving that compassion and success aren't just compatible, they're inseparable. The applause that followed wasn't just for me, but for every person who'd helped transform a luxury hotel empire into a force for positive change. For Grandma Rose's vision of what wealth could accomplish when paired with purpose. And maybe, just maybe, for the little girl who'd refused to give up her dreams of helping others, even when they mocked her with $5 gift cards.